What's going on, guys? What we're going to go through today is 5 minutes of stretches to increase your speed and your power. Let's be brutally honest. The title is a little bit of a clickbait title. There's no stretches necessarily, put an asterisk there, that you're going to do that are going to make you swing faster. So when we do these stretches, what we really want to think about is the intent of the stretches. Thinking about the intent of preserving our body, and we're also thinking about the intent of preparation in our body.
Treat your body like a pit crew. Change your fucking tires. Can't just like, they look good. No.
As an example, currently right now I'm working with speed sticks. So I'm using the speed sticks. It's week 3. The goal of the stretches for me is to prepare my body for the future gains that I'm going to be making in speed by making my joints and my muscles more flexible, more capable, more able to handle the demands that my body is being placed under. On the flip side, I also want to make sure as a golfer, I'm planning for the long haul or the long term. So I want to do things and work on joints, muscles, and movements that are going to preserve my body for the long term as a golfer, so I could play the game as long as I want to play and have a body that's capable of handling those demands. So follow along with this stretch routine, working on preserving our body and preparing our body for our golf game. All right, so stretch number 1. One of the most fundamental parts of our body, we call it the low-hanging fruit of rotation. Everything we do in our golf swing, we need to be able to rotate internally, externally, rotate our hips. So what we're going to do is get set up in something called 90-90 position. So all we're doing is making a 90-degree angle with the front leg, and we're going to make a 90-degree angle with the back leg. So if you can't get into this position without falling to the side, you have 2 options. Number 1, we could either kickstand our hand out to the side, or we can sit on something like a block or a pillow. So if I had a block or a pillow, I'd put it under my butt right on this side so I can get my knee down and comfortably get up nice and tall and get into this position. So 90-90 position. And what we're going to do is get our hands on either side. We're going to do 1 minute on this side. So as we go through, clock starting 1 minute. Hands on either side. We're going to get our chest tall. We're going to think about our pelvis or our butt. So we want to stick your butt back, and you want to just lean forward with my upper body and put some pressure down into this knee, into this foot, into the ground here. Right? So the only thing you could do wrong from this position is this. You could start taking my upper body or my upper back and start just rounding forward. So this gives me no stretch. This does nothing for my hip. All I'm doing is flexing my back at this point. So make sure we're keeping our back straight. We're staying neutral up top, getting tall, and we're just going to lean down into this front leg. Right? So right now what I'm doing is stretching all that muscle tissue around my hip, my glute, my hamstring, all my external rotators on the side. Couple target lines too. Tall, we can either aim out a little bit toward the knee, usually a little bit easier. We can aim neutral, straight up over the middle. Or we can really face into that foot and we get a real deep stretch into that joint and really lean forward and work that tissue on the outside of our hip there. Right? So whichever position is comfortable, there's no right or wrong, just find your stretch, right? Nice and easy through. So what we're going to do next is same exact position, right? So we're going to work into this back leg. So if you're a right-handed golfer, every time you go into your backswing, you're working internal rotation of this back hip. So all I want you to think about, I'm going to set the clock on. There we go. 1 minute. I'm going to take this hand, I'm going to put it back behind me. I'm thinking of my butt on this right side. I'm pushing it down toward the floor, and I'm just rotating my hip back, down, and around toward the floor. So from this position, you're going to feel kind of an ache deep in that joint there. It's not the same as this side. We're going to feel really that muscle working. On this side, we're feeling these deep muscles. We're going to feel that internal rotation. We're making sure we're keeping this knee down, keeping that foot down as we just turn, rotate, and really drive down to the floor and work that internal rotation. Right? So nice and smooth. You want to breathe here. You want to relax. And we want to just find our baseline, get used to the range of motion, and just see how we do from this position, right? So nice and loose, finding that stretch, deep breaths through, right? Work that internal rotation. Again, this is what we're doing in our backswing, right? So you rotate into that back hip, internal rotation. So let's flip-flop sides now. So we're going to go to the other side, right? Same idea. Front leg now, we're going to work those external rotators. Back leg's going to stay in 90-90, so we're in our 90-90 position again. And we're going to start the clock up. Right, nice and tall up top, knees flat, foot's flat, tall. I'm going to lean and see where I find it. Right now, when I go neutral over the middle, I get a great stretch all throughout that hip, into my hamstring, keeping my back nice and straight, leaning forward, just breathing into that stretch. Right, so I'm going to work my way a little bit more toward that inside foot. Right, nice and loose, keep my back straight. Right, just breathing into that stretch, opening up those muscles, working that hip joint. Right, just creating more range of motion and just normalizing really range of motion. So step 2 now, we're going back to that back leg. So I'm going to turn open, start my clock, reset. All right, so step 2, reach back, right, drive my butt down toward the ground, right, really lean in, work that internal rotation. Right, just breathing through. Again, for me, it's just a very deep, uncomfortable kind of stretch right in here. I'm not feeling on any one specific muscle. I just feel that deep internal rotation movement going on. So the number one thing for a lot of people that starts to cause back pain is the lack of internal rotation in your hips. Right, so if you have hips that can't internally rotate, that's usually one of the first signs that start to lead to back pain. Right, so nice and smooth, normalizing range of motion, getting used to being in these positions. Right, nice deep breaths, easy through. Right, so I'm not super flexible. I've been working on a lot of strength stuff, a lot of speed. It's the end of the golf season. I've been playing a lot. So I'm going to really start working this off season on getting these ranges of motion, improving these ranges of motion, so that when I work on my speed, when I work on my swing, my body's prepared and it's preserving the range of motion that I have. So for the second movement now, we're going to work on some active movement that works on the same muscles and the same joint ranges of motion. So this is a common one that I've seen all over the place now, which is 90-90 switches. So basically all we're going to do, set it for 2 minutes here, is we're going to get that same 90-90 position. And basically if we were going to switch from this side to this side, that's the movement that we're going to go through. So we're alternating internal and external rotation with each movement. So we're internally rotating one side, externally rotating the other. Right? So if it's your first time doing it, we want to do a couple things. Make sure everything's in contact at the bottom. We want our feet to always, the outside of our feet to stay in contact with the ground. And we want to kind of roll from one side to the other, keeping our feet in contact with the ground. Right? So we want to maintain those points, maintain our balance. So we can use the hands at the start. Right? If you've never done this before and you need to use the hands, that's not a problem. Right? Rotate nice and easy side to side. Right? The goal is nice, smooth range of motion. So it's not for you to have to kind of flop around and go through it fast. Doesn't matter how fast you can do it, how slow you do it. It's about controlling the range of motion and getting your body through. So if you're comfortable without the hands, we take the hands away and just nice and smooth. We're working one side, we're working to the other side. Right? Nice controlled range of motion. Internally and externally rotating from one side to the other. Right? So this is the same thing. If you're in your golf swing, we internally rotate back into our right hip, externally rotate here, downswing, internally rotate, externally rotate. Right? So think of that's the application toward your golf swing. Is this specific where it's like, this is exactly a golf specific exercise? No, but what we're doing in a general sense is we're working the same muscle groups, working the same joints in a similar motion to generally kind of prepare our bodies for that range of motion. Right? So if you want to get crazy, hands can go up top. Right? Keep our spine neutral. Right? Just working one side to the other side. Right? 90-90 switches. Nice and smooth. All right, so again, very simple drill you can do on a daily basis, weekly basis to prepare your body and preserve the range of motion that you do have. Both of them working on the same groups of muscles, the same joints, making sure they're physically prepared to rotate and making sure we're preserving the range of motion that you do have for your current golf game and your future golf game.